Welcome everybody to webinar number 4 on our series of migration, series that's in partnership between Contica and DevScope. It's going to be me and Sandro who is going to be leading this webinar today. We're going to talk about some exciting stuff, and Sandro will get also to do something that he really liked and wanted to bring up today. Right, Sandro?
Yes, some real live demos to present, an abstraction of a real project, but simplify and with some anonymization, of course. Otherwise, we cannot show real project unless they allow us to do
45
that.
minutes, that would be...
Even in 45 minutes, it's going to be a nightmare. It's an anonymization and a simplification of a real project that happens in real case scenarios. And we are going to see how that works in BizTalk and in Azure. Let's see.
Yeah, let's not spoil it all now. Let's just go start. This webinar will be on YouTube afterwards. It's recorded now. If you missed something, you can always go back, take screenshots. If you don't want to search on YouTube, do what you need to do.
And make questions if you need. Okay, we'll try to respond at the end. So
yeah. Also, while you are on YouTube, looking for the older webinar, because we've been approaching some stuff that we might not cover today because we already covered some of them in other sessions.
Exactly.
So please go ahead and check that and see.
Already have two already available in YouTube, Contica's YouTube. And this is the third one, and still a lot more to come. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And we would like also to, there is a lot planned, basically, and will come soon. But now let's go ahead and jump into our topic for today. Before, on the other webinar, we have been talking about architects, like choices and what kind of, how to migrate and what kind of technology to choose. And we thought that, okay, well, let's round this up with the practical strategies to minimize risks and during migration, because what's scary is not about the choice of the technology itself. It's more like what kind of risks, how it costs, how things cost, how to prioritize. It's abstract, and we will try to simplify that as much as possible today. And of course, we round it all up with a live demo to showcase of how a BizTalk integration will look like when migrated or while being migrated. It's interesting. I actually like this demo a lot. It covers a lot of areas.
And again, just to explain the pictures, end of support of BizTalk 2020 is going to be 2028, but extended support 2030. So 2030 is the limit. This doesn't mean that this is the last version of BizTalk. Okay, we don't know. There is no clear roadmap on that. We have to wait and see. When it arrives that 2030, we'll have a better picture, and I hope we'll be here to see that happening. But yeah,
we will be.
With the lack of this roadmap, a lot of clients are going to migrate, and even because they want to migrate to a different technology. And we do hope that is Azure Integration Service, because that's the perfect match. And this is all about this, how we are going to be able to do that in a proper conditions, in a proper way, okay?
Yeah. Of course, all while we are doing the session now, there is a question button there. Just feel free to put any question there.
Or in the chat.
Yes, exactly. We will try to catch up with you all. And if we didn't have time now, we will reach out to you if you want. So going back to risks and talking about risks now. So it's a really abstract word, as we've been talking about before the session here, Sandro. It's big. People think about the technical challenge, and this is the risk, but it's like the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. No. Yeah, I think you choose the correct picture, an iceberg. There is a risk.
Exactly.
There is a risk to stay in Biz. There is a risk to migrate to Azure integration. There is always that risk. Okay.
And the cost is a big risk that, a lot of people miss that.
Yeah, so and that is important, Ahmed, because in BizTalk, we have an upfront investment. We have to buy everything. We have to buy the software, the hardware, but it's one-time investment, and that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have a clear picture of how it's going to cost.
This amount, you get this.
Exactly. Okay. We have a number of cores, a number of CPUs, the machines, how many machines, and we have a fixed cost, and we understand that cost. In here, it's different. Okay.
And usually people approach the migration project is in this way. Should I focus on a technical challenge? Should I start to dive into the Azure resource cost? And usually you have a budget to run through, but which way is the right way here? What goes first? And we don't see this as a challenge as it is now, because we like to push both buttons. But what does that mean? It means like when we are actually on the discovery, when we start to look at any integration environment, and when like in the discovery phase, when we're approaching this, we have a set of questions, set of methods that we do. And within those methods, we also look at the FinOps discovery, which is, what does FinOps mean? This is financial operations, actually. That's basically what it means for you who doesn't know what it is. It's a method to keep track of your cost and to budget, and to also have track the trends and have a design that's also take accountability, like financial accountability in account when they are designing solutions. And we usually approach this in the same way here as we approach the technical. When we go in and start to look into the new environment, we start to see what kind of Azure components that need to be that, how much those Azure components will cost. That's how we also get the budget. So the technical discovery give us the full, what do you call it, the prerequisites for this FinOps discovery. What you end up with is you have a good picture of how your environment will look like, and an average on how much should it cost or will it cost. And you keep following this up throughout the way.
And the reason why this is important, guys, is that normally, if we think about a developer, we don't care. Okay, so it's just we just want to have fun, and we have requirements, and we deploy the stuff the way we think that is better. If we set up like our developer main, okay, and that's going to work for a while, to be honest. Okay, you will probably have freedom to work for a while until it gets a point that the top business, will see the bill and say, why the hell are we paying so much for these tasks? Okay, why this is costing so much money for us? Can we reduce those costs? Okay.
We were discussing a story earlier before the session.
Exactly.
You can share that.
I will share that.
Yeah,
I will
we
share
share
that
that.
in a second. But the thing, when this goes up and flags that, they will come chase to you, okay? And they will come and say, we need to reduce the costs, okay? How can we do that? And the thing is, to reduce the cost, we have to increase the costs because we need to rechange all of this. So to reduce all of this, we still have to spend more money to do it in a proper way or in a different way to reduce the costs. But that will happen, okay? For sure it will happen. And the story I was speaking with Ahmed some before session was like, I had a scenario that the client was give just a small requirements. It was processing human resource information, and they want to integrate and move those files from that data from one system to the other. And the only requirement that they gave was, we want to go for Azure integration service. That's going to be our kind of first experience in kind of a full project in Azure integration service. And we would like to use Service Bus for this decouple and asynchronous integration. And they did a good job. They did an amazing job. Okay, they create a Service Bus Premium. They put Event Grid on top of it, and a Logic app listening to events. And when the message arrives to the Service Bus, the Logic app will process, integrate to the other systems. Nothing wrong with the design. Absolutely amazing, top of the art. Problem was, they forgot to make some questions about how many messages are we going to process. And it was roughly 20, 25 messages, 100 messages per day. Okay. Are they critical or not? Not critical at all. Okay. If they are not integrated today, tomorrow they will be. Okay. Do we need real-time integration? No, we don't care. So again, if it doesn't go today, tomorrow it's going to synchronize. Okay. The problem is that application costs roughly 20,000, 20K per year. Multiply by 4, that's almost
For one
100K.
environment.
Because we have them, Q&A, production, all of them has to be premium, no? Because if it's grid, that means service was premium, okay? And when they realize the cost, they was kind of saying that this cannot be possible. That's not insupportable. We have to kill it or do it in a different way. And what we did is that first thing, we killed the event grid, okay? We actually reduce the service bus premium for basic because we only need a queue. Okay, that means that amounts of reduction was huge. And then we, instead of doing real live integration or listening to events, we just do a traditional pulling to that service bus every hour. Okay, so every hour go there. Do you have message? Yes, go. And that passed to almost 100K per year to nearly 100 euros per year. So it was almost free, okay? Because
It's a
everything
small
was consumption oriented, okay?
So a small question, that's what we are talking about here, is a small question. If you miss to ask the right question, that you will design the whole fully wrong thing. So if you don't really take count of that, you cannot really, you might end up with a bigger risk in the end. So keep track of that. But that's all fun. We performed the best full-scale discovery and we managed all our costs. Now what? We need to have some kind of planning, project planning. So how a migration project planning should look like, because this is actually one of the most important things that a lot miss, because that can create a bigger overhead, delays on many different ways. So what we are doing now is, if you're gonna be approaching that after you did the discovery, you start to adopt the wave-based migration. This is the Microsoft recommended method to actually approach the migration projects. And it's quite simple. As you see there, you have your wheel of planning. That the first one is your discovery. You go ahead and do your discovery, and then you plan your first AI wave of migration, which is going to be Azure Integration Service Foundation. And after that, you plan for your MVP integration. And we don't mean like most valuable, minimal valuable product. I mix that with our MVP.
Most probably professional.
Well, maybe we are a minimal valuable products as well. So you choose, and we're choosing the MVP expression here because it's not a proof of concept. This is, you choose the most easy integrations to actually test your foundation, because the most important part here is your foundation. And then you start to migrate your first wave and you release to production, and then you conduct a retro and you implement the learnings, because you will be learning, but as long as you keep your wave small, it will help you throughout the way. And also conduct a FinOps assessment. How much did this wave cost us? How much did drift cost us? And then do we need to optimize this in any way? No? Good. Then plan for the next wave and repeat the steps from 3 to 7 over and over again until you reach the full migration need. And might sound slow and little, but this is
even because you are going to do mistakes during the way, okay? During those mistakes,
control the mistakes.
You can control it easy and adapt very easy, okay? Because that's the thing, you will do it. It's not going to be perfect from the start. Sometimes in the paper everything matches perfectly, but when you implement this and that maybe these features is not yet ready, it's not, it has a bug, this doesn't work like that, so you have to adapt this. So when you are actually implementing, you starting feeling some of the limitations, some of the things that you can do easily, and we need to adapt. So by doing this with small waves, that's going to be simple to minimize that and adapt very easily, okay?
So your board should look something like that. Accept that you will have BizTalk living for a while until you end the whole migration, because you don't want to risk what's running already. So what you do is, like, you cut those some pieces, as you can see in the picture here now. and bit by bit, just go and learn from your learnings, and each wave will be better and faster than the previous one. And you keep doing that until you decommission your BizTalk server. And this is a proven method. It's not something that we trying to maybe test here and now. This is a best way. It's have been tested, proven, and approved even by Microsoft. You can see it on their website. And also, as we said again, you need to ensure that you apply the FinOps methods during the migration, because that will live after the migration, to not end up with a situation like Sandro have been mentioning in his story, with the developers have been creating something that they didn't really know about, or like they didn't know the scope of it. That led to a lot of money that went to the unnecessary purpose. So when you apply those methods, you will, every single integration that will be built in the future will always have this accountability, FinOps accountability in it, which will make your life easier and will make you in control of your cost and ahead of Azure bill. Yeah, no financial surprise, but good. Now we have the planning, we have the FinOps, we have control. What about the foundation, the architecture? If you have all of this done and you don't have the right technical foundation, it will be all on, just will create more problems for you. So what we do recommend and rely on, and this is how we approach, is we start to create those Lego pieces here. As you can see,
foundation is a critical part of everything. Okay, so if you are starting moving without having the proper foundations, and you see some of these are kind of the highlights of the foundation, but there is more.
It's way more. We're just trying to keep it on the same.
Yeah, so way more. It's starting from the basics of the basics. What is your subscription policy? Okay, so are you using one subscription, many subscription, a subscription per application, a subscription per environment? Okay, starting from that, because that will affect, for example, the naming convention that you are going to use. There is a lot. So if you start going to implement without thinking about at least these basic foundations, that will lead to a nightmare. Okay, that will lead to a jungle that you are going to be unsupported very soon and be out of control. Okay,
but I would say that those foundation has to be in place at all time. So if you don't have them,
day zero. Okay.
Yeah, if you don't have them already now, so please take a look at the environment and try to assess it already now.
And for example, one that is here that is missing, but is related with the FinOps, is the tag policies. Okay, the FinOps starts also with the developer phase, in the developer phase. Okay, because for having also a good FinOps strategy, of course, we can do that in many different ways, but one of the things that we need to allocate costs to departments, to applications, and so on and so forth. Tagging policies is one of the things that we use, and it should be applied from the developer phase, because when we develop the stuff, there's already tags in place to control those costs, okay, and to highlight those costs, and we can be easily identify those, okay. Yeah, foundation is the key base of this migration.
Yeah, exactly. And those foundation, we didn't come up with it today. It's, as you say, Sandro, it's a method and architected foundation that's been also introduced by Microsoft and supported by them. And as you can see, this is, we have our journey of experience in many projects and all of this, but also we keep learning more, and we keep even editing those documents. I know that Sandro, you have been involved in some of those documents from Microsoft there.
Yes, some best practices, some of them, yes, but I give some kind of feedback. Some of them help them create a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, which is lead us to please go ahead and read, because what we are telling you now is based there. What we are trying here is to simplify it, and what we do is to simplify things during our migration. We did our journey, but if you would like to have more easy reference and understand more and learn more, read more, which is we encourage, so we can also have the right questions between each other, then please go ahead and read those. This is a great resource.
You need to use this as your reference. Okay, there is no perfect architecture. You have to adapt to your needs, okay? And you have to adapt to your organization. It's not one recipe will solve all of this, okay? There are companies, for example, that, and I work with some of them, that have kind of strategies that we can use. And security, for example, is a big part of this. Some of them allow us to use non-critical data to be consumption-wise. Others say that everything has to be in BNet integration. That affects the costs and the architecture that you are going to implement. If you have these companies that can work both in BNet and as a SaaS, perfect for the FinOps, because everything that is one-time integration, non-critical data, we can actually put and works very well in consumption. And we secure those applications in a different way. It is not BNet integration security, but we can secure nevertheless in proper condition those type of interfaces, okay? Now, if they have that strict policy that everything has to be on the BNet, then we have to apply other architecture on top of things. Okay, and that solves, nevertheless, that's perfect for the client and the organization. It will affect the cost for sure. Okay, it will not cost the same as kind of hybrid or consumption wise. Okay, consumption is way cheaper than BNet integration.
That's why everything also rely on this discovery phase, because if we have good information on the discovery, we can always build on top of that. We can use the components that are right for you, even from those methods here.
I don't like to choose one or the other. I like to choose both of them. Okay, you use both of them together. Okay.
Yeah, good. But that's take us to our next part here now. That also we're talking about reference and things. This is one of my favorite AI picture that's generated.
Ahmed choose that picture. You actually create that picture because I did a session in Nordic integration event, speaking about data mapper of Logic app. And yes, I was the crazy one that created a 400 pages book about mapping. So I like that topic. And this will be a little bit binding to the example, to the scenario that we choose, okay? So it's really common for us to have these kind of solutions, and we have different providers, different partners sending orders, sending data, you name it, okay? Invoice is something that is very common, but I was not going to put here an ADI invoice, and it's going to be crazy to explain all of these, okay? But there are other scenarios like system information that sometimes we gather that from different places, different partners, and they are different. Different from the file format, different from the data that is inside, and so on and so forth. So what we have normally in BizTalk is that we have a receive port. When I say one receive port, can be several receive ports, okay? But normally we have a receive port, and then it depends a little bit how you work with the PubSub and how you implement this. Even I intentionally remove the orchestration from this because we can do a lot of these without any integration at all.
Orchestration, yeah.
The thing is that some of them may send you a flat file. And what happens is that we receive that based on the file adapter, the FTP adapter, we don't care, okay? So any kind of connector. And on the pipeline, we do the flat file to XML. We provide at the entering point that flat file to the canonical, send to the message box, and someone is picking up that canonical, and guess what? That at the send port, we apply another mapping, okay, to transform that canonical to the end system. Okay, here it can be, we can have an orchestration, send it to SAP and other systems or Oracle and so on and so forth, or send to an FTP for another partner. We don't care. We abstract this layer, okay? But we can have the same, a different provider, different partner sending, for example, a JSON message. I actually select a JSON message because I want to make a difference between this migration journey. Because what happens in BizTalk is that, yes, we do receive a JSON from an adapter, and then we are going to translate the JSON into an XML with the JSON schema wizard that converts the JSON into an XML. We apply that client A JSON XML format to the canonical again, and then we do, because we already have always sending the canonical message to the message box, we only have one mapping at the send port, okay? So here in BizTalk, I have three schemas, I have three maps and configurations. That's it. I don't have anything else. But I do have the power, for example, to stop these client A for processing, keep this partner working, and actually saying, okay, start this now, or then go to the send port and say, I'm not going to send nothing to this system, okay? But I'm picking up the message and accumulate the message. When the systems are good, I will send it immediately. I have all of these capabilities out of the box with BizTalk. Okay, I want the same in Azure integration. Okay, how we are going to create this, how we are going to develop the same approach, the same functionalities in a smart way, maybe. Okay, in better way, maybe. But having all of these capabilities of starting, stopping, and processing these in asynchronous, canonical. And think this is a simple send port, but this can be an orchestration with too much logic. Okay, I don't want to repeat this logic over and over again. That's why we use this canonical format that is well-known pattern in BizTalk, and it still applies in Azure integration. Okay. So before I present you this working, I'm going to show you the architecture, okay? The solution in a diagram, okay? We are going to use Logic App, of course, to receive these files. I did Logic App standard just because nowadays many people use more standards and it provides a little more capability, but this approach works in standard or in consumption is the same, okay? So what I did was I'm going to create two logic apps that acts as my receive locations, okay? So basically this LA convert flat file canonical is this branch that I see here. Okay, so from the receive pipeline and mapping, this is the abstraction in Azure. So I'm going to receive a flat file. I'm going to convert to an XML, and I'm going to convert it to the canonical message and send to the service bus. Why I choose the service bus? Again, I want that capability. I could, if I want, call directly this logic app as a kind of a child logic app. I didn't do that because I want that capability of start stopping, because that will happen nevertheless in Azure. That system will
otherwise
be
you will end up in the
maintaining.
spider net. Everything is like really tied together and you cannot really change much in the middle.
And I want you to be able to stop these logic apps and stop processing. I'm not going to send nothing because that system is going to be in maintenance for a couple of hours. Or I can come here and say, stop this, because I know that my system is going to be, while I'm going to do a change here probably, and I don't want to send more data. So I'm going to consume what is there and I'm going to stop this. I want this capability. Okay. I want this flexibility. So I'm going to choose this act as my receive port, and this one is the same, getting not the XML, but the JSON and transform it to a canonic and send to the service bus, okay? Why there is the storage account here, okay? The storage account is here for a reason. This is plan B, if you want. You know that depending on we decide to use standard consumption, standard or premium, we have a size limit of the service bus, okay? So normally standard is 1 megabyte. Premium goes to 100 megabytes, and indeed Logic App can send more than 1 megabyte to the service bus, okay? Because it uses the MQP protocol. But in some cases, we need to create our solution to be tier friendly, okay? I don't want to be binding to a service bus that needs to be premium always, okay? Because what happens is that if I use premium in dev, Q&A, and production, that's a lot of money, okay? And depending on the client, they use two approach. Or we put a share premium for non-production environments or use a standard, because we don't need that premium cost. It's just testing, okay? It's just developing. And if I have those cases, I have to be tier friendly. So normally I would say keep it 1 megabyte maximum that you send to the service bus, okay? Keep things simple. But sometimes we may have a file that is more than 1 megabyte, like 10 megabytes, okay? If that happens. So instead of sending the message to the service bus, I will send a message to a storage account and put a pointer to that storage account in the service bus and do the same content-based routing. So instead of this main process to pick up the message, the payload of the message in the service bus, it picks up the pointer, then it goes to read that file and then process nevertheless, okay? And keep the cost in the minimal, because sometimes we don't need that premium capabilities, okay? And of course, this one is going to pick up the canonicals, send the message in the final approach to the destination, okay? So let's see this in action. Let me put the Azure portal.
I won't be a showstopper, but we have 7 minutes.
Okay, no problem.
I know we want to show even the data mapper there, but
yeah,
we can try to take later.
What happens is that I had flat file, the JSON, and the canonical. Okay, I'm just going to show you how I create these artifacts. The logic app is quite simple. Okay, I didn't put any error handlings, neither like that. Of course, you should do it, but keep it simple for now. But the thing is, even I didn't use the file to pick I keep it simple so I can trigger this very easily, and I use the HTTP, just enough. I don't care about the inbound. You select if it's a secure FTP, whatsoever, okay? So this is going to receive the flat file, and I'm going to send the flat file here. And what it's going to do is going to call a flat file schema. And there is a supportability of flat file schemas as in BizTalk. Actually, I create this flat file schema in BizTalk and just copy and paste into my logic app standard. So this will convert to an FTP, an XML format of the CSV. And then I'm going to apply a map. Guess what? That map I create in BizTalk also. I just copy and paste that XSLT. That's it. Okay, I didn't have any crazy stuff inside using crazy logic inside. So sometimes you can just copy and paste. That's what I want to explain here. And I'm going to use that XSLT that I copy from my BizTalk solution and is here. Okay, and I'm going to send this into the service bus and where it is Postman. So you see, I'm going to send that flat file schema. I put a response just to know what I'm sending to the service bus that is going to be equal. And I'm going to execute that, and it's going to send that. And this is the canonical message that I sent to the service bus, okay? XML to XML transformation using a map that was in BizTalk. I'm going to show that map in a second, okay? Now, the second one is this JSON. So in BizTalk, I convert the JSON to XML, okay? And then mapping this. I have JSON supportability here. So why do I need to translate to XML and then mapping this, okay? So what I did is I received this and I put this tokenizing of the schema of the JSON, okay? And I'm using the data mapper to do this transformation. Data mapper is the new mapper of the logic app standard. And why I use this? Because the data mapper support JSON to XML mapping. It's going to produce me an XSLT 3.0, but it maps directly JSON to XML. So I'm doing the JSON that I receive from that client and put in the canonical without having that extra step of converting to XML. So I'm innovating a little bit and modernizing a little bit my integration, keeping the same context. And you have the transform using data mapper XSLT, and you select that mapping. I'm going to show that in a second, okay? Now, if I do the same exercise with the Postman, okay?
So I just want to remind everyone also that there was a client A and a client B. One sent XML and one sent JSON. So we have both now.
And this is going to be the JSON. If I send it, it's going to produce the same output, the canonical message, and it's going to be consumed by the workflow, the main canonical that it receives from the service bus. It's going to just I'm just putting here to see the message. It's going to transform using XML to XML, okay? Basic BizTalk mapping also, and send to a blob storage that is going to keep that blob storage. And if I go to the run history, you will check that we have 2 calls today, okay? And it's going to be on the blob storage, trust me, but for the sake of time, let's continue. Let me see the map. First, I want to explain you that you don't need a BizTalk mapper anymore. Also, you can copy those artifacts and you can put, there is an integration account plugin extension for Visual Studio 2019, okay? What you are seeing here is the logic app mapper. The integration account mapper is the same of BizTalk. It's the BizTalk mapper, but without the needs and dependency of BizTalk, okay? This is the flat file sending to the XML. So this is, I copy from BizTalk, I put in this project, load it, it works fine, okay? What you need to do is copy the XSLT that is inside, that is generated here. Once you compile it, you're going to generate an XSLT, copy this XSLT to your project inside Logic App Standard on the mappings folder, and you can execute that, okay? Also, to create a flat file schema, it supports this, okay? If you go here, add new, like in BizTalk, but this is not BizTalk, guys. This is Logic App, flat file schema, and you have the same schema wizard that you can generate new flat file schemas, or you can use the one that you have in BizTalk. They are fully supported, okay? Now, this is the ones, and I use this just to create the artifacts or copy the artifacts and move to my project, okay? Now I'm going to bring back the data mapper, okay?
This is Logic App Data Mapper.
This is Logic App Standard Data Mapper, okay? And what you have here is my JSON schema. You see here, personal JSON, this is my JSON schema. And I'm mapping these from one side to the other as in BizTalk mapper. Yes, it's not perfect yet. It's not 100% perfect, but you can do a lot of things here, okay? Good things. And this is going to mapping these to my canonical format. And you will see that on the maps, there will be, there's my XSLT mapping there, okay? Once I save it, it will generate the XSLT that when I deploy, I will see that and I can use it. And this is XML to XML, okay? Actually, that canonical to the destination, I choose not to use the BizTalk mapper. I could use it, but I choose saying that, can we migrate this and put that in a proper project, in my project, in a different way? And yes, you can. So this is the data mapper doing the XML to XML support. And in the future, Microsoft is preparing to support also CSV directly to JSON or CSV directly to XML. I do not know how that will work yet, but they are in the roadmap to do that. So if they do that, I don't need that extra step to convert the CSV to XML and then transform this. But you see that.
Just one question also that came, that I know that we are a bit out of time. Can I create flat file schema in VS Code? Not with data mapper. There is no support for that yet. You will need to use, if you want to use the wizard, then you need to use BizTalk project.
Or the integration account in the Visual Studio. So the Visual Studio Code do not support yet for you to create schemas or XML schemas, flat file schemas, JSON schemas, whatsoever. JSON, it's the Logic App will create that for you, the Logic App designer. But neither, you cannot create that resource. If you want to create that resource, then you have to, without BizTalk, you have this integration account. And guess what? Yes, you need Visual Studio 2019, but you don't need to provision an integration account, okay? This is just a project. You install Visual 2019, you install this integration account extension, and you are able to create these artifacts. You don't need to deploy this for an integration account, neither you don't need an integration account deployed in Azure to use this, okay?
You just need the files.
You just need the files, okay? There is a question here that I'm confused. I thought that integration account was
it's
kind
the
of
same
legacy.
question that we just answered, actually.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Integration account is not legacy also, okay? So bear in mind that is not legacy. Integration account is for B2B. That means that if you really need EDIs, partners, agreements, certificates, Rosetta Net, you need an integration account. Even if you use Logic App Standard, okay, you need integration account because the integration account will have that supportability for those features. Now, in the beginning of the integration account, there wasn't Logic App Standard. There was only eyes and Logic App consumption. And for Microsoft to allow to have schemas, DLLs, mappings, and so on, that was dedicated to you. They create the integration account, and then with the integration account, they support those kind of stuff. Okay. Now with the standard, you don't need to use integration account to use schemas, mappings, and DLLs. You already have that supportability out of the box. But if you use consumption, you still need to use integration account for those or create some custom solution.
Yes, which is not good. I think you can get a long way more far with integration account. But yeah, it would be great if we could go back because we are holding the people now during the function.
Yeah.
We're sorry we're taking more time, but when we got into the excited parts, we just like talk more. But maybe we will dedicate more session just about that. Let's talk about our key takeaways from today. We talked about risk management and what is risk management means. It's the financial risk and the technical risk and what's the foundation you have. And we also have the planning with proving framework, like the Microsoft wave-based methodology that we are actually using and adapting ourselves and recommending it because it's transparent and clear and it works. And it's more effective than a lot of other methods. And then we have the real world validation where we have been also creating some kind of BizTalk scenario with many ports and different mapping to canonical into Azure and how will it look like in Azure. Yes, we would like to dedicate more time for that, and maybe we can have a specific dedicated session for that later on if we got more like requests about that.
We can create a webinar just to create these from the scratch if you guys want.
And we are having a session next time, which is going to be how to operate in Azure like a pro, and we will be announcing that later. We also have all of those things that you have been seeing as part of our offerings, which is the curiosity into clarity. As you can see, all of what we have been trying to say here is around how we want to learn about the business, how can we deliver the value in the most effective way. And those kind of methods, they are not secrets, but we're trying to also share them because it's not about holding it. We want to know there is no plug and play solutions, and the more we know about other solutions, the more we are better. So this is our methodology, and you can scan this QR code. You will just leave your email, and you will get back a PDF to your email that explains to you how this curiosity model work between DevScope and Contica. Yeah, and more here. We forgot. That's us standing in suits. Yeah, that will be us for us today. And unfortunately, Robin could not be with us today, but we have been covering it all. So please feel free to contact any of us through LinkedIn, or the emails are there. So questions, or you're just curious about something, just let us know. We will respond as fast as we can. And thank you for joining, and see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. And if you have any questions, just put in the chat.
Please.
I think we don't have any questions.
There is one question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all. See you guys.
I think I will.
Should we end the webinar?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for everyone to leave so we don't, if someone wants to write a question or something. I don't know.
I think we can.
Yeah, hold on.